That's right. Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Mickey fan.
And Joker's Wild.
And welcome to, I don't know, is the final episode going to be a more Pooh talk, or is it just going to be the season finale? What do you guys think? Is this going to be the final more Pooh talk?
It's always more Pooh talk.
Oh, God.
It really is.
When I am present, it is the subseries of So You Want to Be an Imagineer known as more Pooh talk.
Well, when you're present for like a debate, it's not more Pooh talk.
Well, no, but I digress. When I'm in here to inject this level of chaos,
oh God,
helped by Goofy and occasionally Jokers, like it's more Pooh talk.
So, in other words, to quote Jared Leto, Joker, you're an idea.
Yes, we live in a society, all that junk.
All right. So we got Beowulf, we got Peregrine, we got... God, remind me who Ted is. I'm sorry.
He literally says
Dash here. Oh my God.
Dash.
That's embarrassing. Wow. I'm sorry, Dash. Your comment literally says, it's like, well, what's the number for 911? Oh, God.
Or my favorite, can you tell me what time the 3 p.m. parade starts?
3 a.m.
Exactly.
Oh, speaking of parades, did you guys hear that the electric water pageant is coming back?
Yes.
No, I did not.
I am stoked, and I really hope it comes back by the second week of January, is all I have to say.
The first bit of nighttime entertainment back at Disney World.
Yep. I've got a 6 p.m. reservation for the California Grill on the 12th, and I would be stoked if I got to watch the electric water pageant from up there. All right. Anyways, I know, Dash. I'm terribly sorry. No, I thought you were the other Dash, not Dash Haber. So, guys, what we're going to be doing here, we're going to be reviewing the final land in 1986, BUYAN. Is that how you pronounce it? I want to say Bunyan, but it's not Bunyan. There's no N.
Well, technically, there is an N.
Well, you know.
Yeah, I've been pronouncing it BUYAN in my head.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to beat around the bush. Alex, you're not a fan of this. I'm not really that big a fan of it either.
This is not the ending I wanted out of this park.
And I gotta say, it makes me definitely reconsider how we went about the finale, because let's just say there's a little bit of a twist to how we decided to go about, who's going to be going head to head that you guys are going to have to stay tuned for. But I will say this much. I think having the 2 rounds and the people going head to head and everything, I think that... Oh, it's Buon?
What?
Buon?
Really?
Why isn't it spelled with a W?
I see it.
Buon.
So it's like the noise in a Christopher Nolan trailer. Buon.
But I don't know. I feel like with this, it was sort of like they've been on the way the work has been going, and you think about like Peregrine especially, because I know he's been involved in a ton of these veto projects. So for him and people who were involved in a lot of veto projects, it's been like 4-day project, 4-day project, 4-day project, and I guess it's sort of a combination of getting burned out by the end with having done so many of these projects, but also they are down to 3 people. And I think that the previous land was probably higher quality, but I think that the burnout sort of helps explain that a little bit. I still think it's a good land. It's just not anything compared to the earlier ones.
Out right here. they're down to 3 people, and one of those 3 people is clearly doing more work than the other 2. Sassy Black Lady Tiki at your service. We will get to that. We will get to that. But don't think we haven't noticed in the judges' lounge.
We do
So-
talk in there sometimes. We just mostly lounge, though.
You know, because now that lounges aren't open in the Disney hotels, you know, we need somewhere to lounge, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
we have to. We just have to, like, you know, get our drinks in, get our, it's we need the time.
All right, so a couple things to note here. I gotta say, like, all around, like, El Dorado, I thought the attractions were a little lacking, but I honestly thought the backstory and the idea for the land were fantastic. This just, I don't know, guys, just kind of across the board, I was a little mad about the whole thing.
I was this was just a very meh project.
First of all, I don't really think it fits that well with the rest of the park. How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah.
It takes on a
See,
similar structure to the rest of the, you know, where it's got like the animal enclosures, it's got the e-ticket that's connected to the backstory, it's got some flat rides, but I will say, I just think that, okay, look at this backstory. So Peregrine, I love you, man, but I gotta say, this backstory, it was well thought out. Don't get me wrong. It was probably the most dense and arguably confusing backstory we've had since Adventure Atoll, in my humble opinion. There were a lot of plates spinning all at once for this backstory to make sense, and I couldn't quite wrap my head around it entirely.
which, I mean, granted, those are some great bookends.
That's fair.
All of this?
Yeah, I mean, to at least Peregrine's Imagineering story in this game. I would say that for this, my issue with the backstory in Adventure Atoll was that for a castle park, I kind of prefer for the lands to be more straightforward, thematic, rather than backstory centric, you know? But with this, it's been like, okay, they have this central Everett Erie character, and it's like you take him into all these different areas and create stories around him in these areas, as well as the history of these areas. And I felt like it was this project, this park as a whole, has been really, really impressive from that backstory standpoint. I'm not so much. I like the backstory. It is more complicated. I think that's the one thing, is that if it could be condensed more into more of a straightforward, linear
Mickey
story,
fan,
I guess.
add space to the jury, PM. For Christ's sake, why haven't you done that?
Joker's is the one that owns the PM.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Why are you calling out Alex, Space?
Come on, Space.
I am not the reason. I
See,
am
that's a
not
fair explanation from Paragon.
Terrible final 3. Space should have won. Oh, God.
As you should, Space. You should feel foolish.
I will get on Evan to add you, though, Space. I will get on him about it.
Well, whenever you asked for it the first time, I tagged him, and then he like responded to something completely different.
Joker is a lot of people's nemesis, Space.
Mm-hmm.
Especially England's, but I won't go there.
Oh, I'm so glad I understand that joke.
Story that Joker needs to tell.
Oh boy. Oh God. Yeah. Oh, you're fine, Space.
Eventually,
England,
we just have a
is Joker's
ship.
true nemesis.
We just need to have a ship podcast eventually.
I was going to say, if those it was after one of
It's
those
like a
early
whole
podcasts I was on.
shit about England. Oh God.
No, it was one of the first podcasts that I was on, and it was like we spent 2 hours afterwards talking about it.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right. I don't want to bring in inside baseball stuff here. All right. A big wound gushing now. Kerfuffle 2.0. Kerfuffle 2.0. Joker's not letting space into the jury PM.
But I do think that it's cool with this park. It wasn't like, it's an IP or whatever. Like they create a central character,
Generally
and it's like
speaking,
that character is the center of all the stories. I do have to ask though, what would happen if somebody went counterclockwise rather than clockwise in your park? Like the guy grows a hand.
what if someone starts in Canada instead of Mexico?
Beer before
Yeah,
liquor,
exactly.
never sicker.
Wait, what, Mickey fan?
Beer before liquor, never sicker.
I just get an Iowa apple whenever I'm in Canada. That's my go-to Canada drink. But then, of course, when you're
we bring them to the Disney gulag.
That makes sense. I can buy that.
when you're in the UK, though, yeah, you're joking if you're not getting a beer.
Yeah, but no, I normally get a snake bite from the.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Oh my god, have you never tried their snake bites?
No, I've only drank around the world once, so that's the one time I ever drank in the UK.
Oh my god, their snake bite. Do you like cider?
Nah, I can't say I'm a fan.
Okay, then you won't like it.
I'm not a fan of sparkly drinks in general.
Yeah, if you like cider, get a snake bite from Rose and Crown.
Okay, I'm sorry, but these people who are saying that they take the World Showcase boats and start an American Adventure, that literally just makes my head hurt.
Oh, he just said he stays there. He doesn't go anywhere else. Ace is like, I got out of Canada. Why would I go anywhere else?
So, Ace, you're basically like me when I was 11 and just marathoning the Tiki Room over and over and over, but for American Adventure.
I mean, American Adventure makes me cry.
When I was 11, I did have one day where I was in the park the day after Christmas. It was super fucking packed. You couldn't get on anything without like an hour line, so I just spent the whole goddamn day just marathoning Tiki Room.
So do you have like the entire script memorized?
Oh no! Oh god, no question. Of course. You want me to recite it now? Why can't?
No, we're good.
I sort of do. Oh, come on. Yeah, whenever I go to World Showcase, I usually drink Coke because they don't sell alcohol to underage people. So,
weak.
Goofy.
Why are you even going into World Showcase if you can't drink?
I love to binge American Adventure.
And I'm just kidding, of course. World Showcase is very valuable for all ages with its educational purposes and whatnot.
I mean, maybe not right now, considering that
not right now, for sure.
People from those countries working at the pavilions, but like, yeah.
But then again, right now, correct me if I'm wrong, but right now you can't even really have your drinks on the walkway, right?
Nope.
Yeah, so
World Showcase Junior. Yes, like the Kid Caught Fun spots. Those are the best, man. Yep. Who doesn't go there? Like, whenever I'm 50 years old, I'm still going to be going to those Kid Caught Fun. Wait, no. Hang on.
Not to cast members there, though.
They have great cast members. Like, I remember, whenever I was like 8 or whatever, like talking to some guy in the Canada Pavilion, and that's whenever I learned that Canadians don't speak a language called Canadian. So
I've got a question for you, Goofy.
Oh boy.
Did that guy say a boot or a at any point in your conversation?
A, definitely A.
Well, then he was speaking Canadian.
Fair.
Goofy goes for the Peacock Fun spots. The FBI has entered the chat.
I'll tell you, no, I have a cousin that married a Canadian guy. And so it wasn't until I went to the Kid Caught, and afterwards, a little while later, I found out that he was Canadian. I'm like, whoa, they look like me too.
Oh, God.
They can blend in.
I think my experience with that was when I got into Scott Pilgrim. I was like, oh man, they're just like everyone else. They're
Who knew?
not all pasty white people.
Canada is actually a very diverse country.
It really is. Anyways, on that note.
Oh, Canada.
Also, French Canadian is awful.
Alex, South Park told me that French Canada is the best Canada. It's the best Canada in the land.
Oh, no,
There's no other
no.
Canada like French Canada. If you lived here for a day, you'd understand. I think you'd understand.
I will say they have the best word for fuck in any language.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Because they say tabernacle.
Oh God.
Wow.
Which is literally the French word for tabernacle.
All right, so attractions and whatnot. I will say, just on the actual like concept of this, it's harder for me to get a grasp on what exactly this land is per se than it is any of the other land. So, like, for example, you've got the Oasis, the ice station, the vertical town built into the city, El Dorado. This is a little bit more obtuse, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I think what the rest of this park does so well that I don't get out of this land is every single environment, like even if you're unfamiliar with what the land is, the environments are so specific.
Sure.
You have that Arctic base entrance, which still would be just one of the most breathtaking entrance lands ever.
Up there with the Oasis,
so epic,
sure.
And then you have the city built into a mountain on multiple levels, and the Oasis, and the lost city of gold, and then you have basically just a seaside town.
Yeah, I'd agree. It feels like it's sort of a scaled down.
The biome is definitely supposed to be island, but I don't get that vibe.
Yeah,
this is fair. What Peregrine's saying is that it was supposed to be the ocean land, which makes sense. I still get that, but they didn't want to do Atlantis, which definitely makes sense.
What I would do, Peregrine, in my opinion, is I would go less Atlantis and more so like a tropical kind of like, not Adventure Atoll, obviously, but something, because I really don't think you guys, because if you think about it, you have the jungle setting with El Dorado, and that could lead into a tropical island quite well.
I'm sure that there is a Polynesian lost city you could have done.
I mean, I don't even think it has to be a lost city, though. That's the thing. I don't think you had to have a city here.
Oh yeah, I was just using that as like an example.
Sure. Guys, really quickly, I want to just, I don't even want to talk about it because frankly, there's not a lot there, but I'm just going to be a little bit blunt with y'all. You guys have been kind of dropping the ball when it comes to merch and dining. I mean, frankly, it's like you guys don't even care about that kind of stuff.
Which, I mean, that's not everyone's cup of tea, but I digress.
I'm just saying, like, merch is just shockingly short.
Yeah.
And dining is a little bit better, but, like, even still, it's not nearly as fleshed out as it was, like, let's say at the midpoint of the season. I'm going to just go ahead and equate that to burnout. I'm sure it's probably just burnout. But, yeah, I know, Ace, I know. There's 4 days. I get that.
Yeah. Did Goofy drop? Goofy dropped.
Oh yeah, Goofy did drop. I didn't even notice that.
I just noticed it.
Oh, I was gonna say, why'd you drop the screen share? But then I realized you weren't doing the screen share.
I mean, I can do the screen share
if you don't mind. Oh, there he is.
Sorry about that. My Wi-Fi.
Oh, I see how it is, Goofy.
Yeah, I know. My Wi-Fi likes to do this thing where it just like stops working for a couple of minutes and then it comes back. So, yeah. I will put it back up.
Attractions come first. That's definitely a great point for sure. However, I think what we said more so than attractions come first is just like contributions. So like if y'all did like a be our guest level dining experience and it kicked ass, I would absolutely consider that just as valuable as an attraction.
I mean, I do not consider Be Our Guest of the same value as a Beauty and the Beast e-ticket, but that's just me.
Who said it has to be an e-ticket?
Tokyo.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, would you prefer Be Our Guest or Enchanted Tales?
Neither.
Oh.
No, I think that
Beauty and the Beast so damn dirty.
Be Our Guest is so good. Well, okay, maybe not like, I don't know about food quality, but just like theming and stuff it's good.
Theming is great. I have no idea what the food quality is because literally I walked in there and nobody told me that I had to like check in at the front desk. I thought checking in outside was me checking in. So I sat there for like 45 minutes and waited for my food as everyone else around me got their food. It was a miserable fucking experience.
That's actually really funny. I'm sorry.
No, because you know how you check in out front.
Yeah, it's a weird check-in thing that they do.
A really weird check-in situation.
Yeah, because I just walked in. I was just like, okay, like I guess, like I assumed that either A, there was going to be a server who came around and asked for your name, or B, that they'd literally just like use your magic band to track where you were and what you ordered and shit. Because I did put in an advance order.
Wait, so you were sitting there for 45 minutes and nobody asked you anything about what you were doing?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, that's so bad. That's so messed up.
And so finally I went to the lady who was outside and I was like, hey, I've got a fast pass to hit. Can I get like a refund? Exactly. I don't even care about eating here anyways. I just wanted to see the inside.
Okay, as far as what Paragon's saying, that makes sense to me. I guess what you guys were talking about before was that it felt like they sort of glossed over shopping and dining.
To be fair, there's not much to talk about with shopping and dining.
It's one of those things where it's like you can describe theming and stuff, but it is one of those things that it is sort of like, well, it's we have merchandise there, or we have food there, or whatever. Like I remember a project in So You Want to Be an Imagineer. Oh, whenever we were doing the Islands of Adventure retheme, and I designed like 20 different items of merchandise, like custom T-shirts themed to board games and stuff like that, and it didn't get mentioned in anything. And I was like, okay, I'm never gonna do this again.
I understand that, and that is definitely more the fault of the judging than anything else.
No, I mean I get it though, because it is one of those things where it's like just like in real life, attractions tend to take precedence over dining and shopping. Whenever you're like, if you're talking about a park with somebody, whether it's real or in a blue sky park like this, it tends to be, this attraction's great. This attraction's great. Not, I went into this shop and it was themed really well.
I kind of, it's funny because some of my more memorable things in Galaxy's Edge are the shops.
That's fair, but that is sort of different compared to the majority of park stuff.
And I literally only go to Epcot to eat nowadays. I could care less about the attraction roster. I mean, literally, like, what do they have? They have, like, 3 Caballeros, Spaceship Earth, and those American Adventure, and those 3 are, like, the only 3 that I actually absolutely have to get on when I'm there. Like, that is not a great top 3.
Well, I mean, you got Test Track and Soarin' and Mission Space, but those tend to be more popular because you have people who are looking for thrills and stuff like that.
Let me run down all 3 of those for you right now.
Oh boy.
I'm from DCA, so Test Track does not cut it.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
I've never had a ride on Test Track where I didn't wish I was on Radiator Springs Racers instead.
Oh, that's a mood.
That makes sense. Whenever I rode on Radiator Springs Racers, and I was like, oh man, it replaced Test Track with this. Come on, it's so much better.
Right. I will say, Soren, I enjoy more in Epcot than I do in DCA, just because I feel like the wait times are generally shorter than they are in DCA.
Right, but you also have that in DCA, so it's not like a unique thing.
Right, but I'm saying I'm actually able to like walk straight onto Soren several times. I've been able to do that, whereas at DCA it's constantly like a 45-minute wait.
Mhm.
Living with the Land is great, but that boat ride, the greenhouse section, is a bit long in the tooth. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, every single one of their major attractions has problems. Mission Space, I will defend more than most people, honestly. Like as a pure thrill attraction, I will defend it. Like I love Mission Space as a pure thrill ride, but even though I love it, even I don't want to get sick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that the thing I don't like about Mission Space is it's like it felt like whenever like you ride it for the first couple times, it's billed as you're actually taking an active part in it. So it is sort of like, and it's one of those things where it's like with Smuggler's Run, a lot of people feel like they sort of underwhelmed. But I think compared to Mission Space, Smuggler's Run is everything that Mission Space was supposed to be.
Smuggler's
Except,
Run, it's funny. I was really underwhelmed the first time I did Smuggler's Run. That attraction grew on me.
it's
Like,
good.
the more I understood the nuances of it.
It does grow on you.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, Dash, I think that with Test Track, now that they've added the design in your car thing, I liked the old Test Track, everything about it except for the new Test Track. I would rather have the, like, if they could put designing your car onto the old Test Track, that would be ideal for me and my preferences.
And
It would make
also, have
sense
y'all
if you
been
designed
on
your own
Radiator
car.
Springs Racers? Have y'all been on Radiator Springs Racers?
Yes.
Yes.
I know you guys have, but that's all I'm saying. I mean,
It
I
is
know it's
so
not
good.
entirely fair, but this is coming from someone who prefers Dinosaur to Indy, so let's not go down that road again.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. So attractions.
I like the flats.
I'm
Do
going
we
to
want to go in
admit,
order or?
yeah, let's go in order. Sure. I have not read this. I'm terribly sorry, Ace. I've been having a really shitty night, so I just, instead of actually doing my job, I've been kind of in a manic depressive
Well,
spiral.
hold up. This is not your job. You are not getting paid for this. And if you are, I want to cut.
No, I know. Just because I'm not getting paid for it doesn't mean it's not my job. I am the host, after all.
That is true.
I liked with this that this felt very realistic to me. That it's like I thought it was really cool. I'm going to skip down and I'll come back up to it. This right here, how they adapt the ride layout. And I've never seen this picture before, but it's like it is cool because it's like that it's the same ride as Dinosaur, but like seeing it as almost
See,
exactly the
actually
same ride
laid
as
out like that.
exactly. It's like, oh wow. And then redoing it like here, I thought that was a really solid idea because it makes it a lot more believable that it would be built. Which I guess believability isn't exactly a huge deal in Blue Sky Parks, but I just liked that touch of realism where it does feel like, okay, this is something that's like actually feasible, where it's just reskinning this ride system that they've had for 25 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say I have also used this exact track design in my armchair Imagineering before. Not anything I've shared publicly, but I am one of the dream parks I'm working on that eventually I do want to post is a theme park entirely devoted to video games.
Ooh.
And I have used this exact same track design for a Castlevania ride.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah. It really fits because it's like, you have like the catacombs, you have like the chamber.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I can see that working really well.
Mm-hmm.
Got myself like a giant Medusa head where the Mara head is.
That's kind of cool, honestly.
And then one of the snakes on her head is an animatronic snake that lunges at you just like the snake on Indy. Yeah, I could keep going.
What is the snake on Indy's name again?
What?
Doesn't the snake on Indy have a name?
I don't know.
Isn't it Fluffy?
Is it?
I want to say it's Fluffy.
One of my best friends worked at Indy for like 2 years, and I've never heard him refer to it by name. Hiss.
Hiss?
Or Fluffy? Is it Fluffy?
No, they're talking about in their ride sequence they have this hiss.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it could be Fluffy, I guess. I don't know. All I know is that the skeleton with the Michael Eisner hat is named Bones.
I knew that.
Why'd I call it a Michael Eisner hat? That's a really weird way to say mouse ears. What the fuck? What's wrong with me? Did I just have a stroke?
That's funny.
Michael Eisner hat. You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking of the fact that in Jurassic Park, the ride, there was a mouse ears with Michael on it.
That is one of my favorite touches of pettiness.
That's honestly probably why I think of them as Michael Eisner hats.
Like that is just like that is a level of petty I aspire for.
I think that with this,
Michael Eisner hats are the
yes, they're gonna start billing that as they're gonna create entire stands of it. Michael Eisner hats, kids, come get your Michael Eisner hats.
You know what? I respect the hell out of Michael Eisner, and I say that entirely unironically. So I would buy a Michael Eisner hat.
I feel like he's so unjustly hated by the Disney community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, did he have faults? Yes, absolutely, no question about it. But he also saved the company.
Him. When he had someone to keep him grounded, he was an amazing, amazing CEO.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. So please, by all means, talk more about this.
Yeah, I thought that this was. It seems like, yeah, obviously, it does seem like an upgrade over Indy and Dinosaur.
Yeah.
With the way that it's described, I will say that this is sort of, I guess, true of all of this land. Is I did feel like a lot of it was just like, I don't know. I felt like I was getting lost in some of it. If that makes sense. Like, I understand the layout and everything like that, but it's just like, I don't know if that's the right word, but it's like, it just feels with Dinosaur, with Indy and stuff like that, it feels like it's a lot more direct stories and stuff like that. I mean, granted, though, part of it could be like, even though whenever Indy was created, like the name Mara was new. So I guess it is sort of like with Ghana and stuff like that, having to remember what that means and stuff like that, It's
correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the only time we actually see Everett Erie, right?
Oh, is it?
I think in an attraction for sure. I don't know if I imagine him like having like pictures or something in stores or whatever, but I think this is the only physical appearance.
Guys, like, I'm kind of shocked that you have not had an Everett Erie walk around just going through all the lands.
I show.
None of the final three should win because they failed to include that.
Like, really, guys, like, how have you not, like, even in the opening land, how have you not?
I mean, especially given that you all know what a fucking whore Mickey fan is for walk around characters.
I am.
So the story of Everett Erie, for clarification, the story of Everett Erie, you start out in the passage, he goes all the way around and then gets lost in the passage
Yeah.
and dies. Okay, that makes sense then, I guess. Yeah, that does make sense. Having him walking around would contradict the story. I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Like I said, I think that I really admire the way that this
I
part
will
is
admit,
very unique in its
Ace has a point
dedication to the
here.
story.
Ace has a point here too.
That's wow. That's true. The lake's just sort of there.
I was thinking about that when I was reading through this.
That there's nothing.
That there's nothing in the lake.
That is very interesting. Well, I wonder. So you already know, obviously, what the prompt is for this final challenge thing, but I wonder if anybody would like to come up with something to put in the lake. That would be nice.
Yeah. Well, hey,
Pedron said that he added something. Okay, I'll look at the lake in a minute.
Once we get through the once we finally get through this tangent-filled recap of the ticket.
Yes. And you think about it more, I think that this is still cool. It's a very high concept story, but the story behind it is really interesting. I wonder if it's just that, this sort of mythology is a departure from like the traditional Scandinavian mythology that you think of.
Yeah, this is not Thor and Odin.
Right. It's not Maelstrom.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that it's sort of one of those things where it's like, with some of the other lands, they have had some unfamiliar elements about it, but it's still like a lot of it has been easier to grasp. I think that with this land, there would have to be a lot of explanations on some of this stuff just because of how unfamiliar large portions of this stuff is. But I think that from a concept point of view, it fits in with something that I've really admired that this group has done is picking these lost worlds, but not the lost worlds that you think of. Like doing an Atlantis would have felt like a cop-out, in my opinion.
Ace says this is Slavic, not Norse.
That's okay.
Why?
That makes sense then. Slavic, where is that? Not Slavic. I know Slavic's not a country, but if anybody wants to help me out with that, I would appreciate that.
It is Europe.
Okay.
So you're talking West Germany, Czechoslovakia, Russia.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Land based on the Great Comet.
Does not fit in with the rest of the park.
No, I know. I'm totally joking. I'm just saying, between Great Comet and Hadestown, I've got a lot of ideas for like lands based on Broadway shows.
Broadway theme park.
Oh my god. Oh, Alex, we might just have to collaborate on that. Like, I think Hadestown would work remarkably well as a land, if I'm being honest.
Hadestown would make an awesome theme park land.
Anyways.
Yeah, so overall, I thought this was a cool concept. It like I said, it feels like with all this stuff, it's easy to feel like lost, I guess, just because of the unfamiliarity with it.
Yeah. Well, and it's curious you say that because like the storytelling in all the other lands, like, for the most part, that's stuff that people wouldn't necessarily be familiar with. That's not your typical Greek Norse mythology. It's Chinese,
right,
and Egyptian and South American mythologies.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. It is sort of weird because that's true. I don't know what it is. Like it just has this feeling that it's a little, like less tangible than the other lands.
It's missing that je ne sais quoi.
Yeah.
Yes. That's a good way to put it. Like I said, nothing against the land. It's just it feels like there is something.
It's kind of missing that magic.
But we move on to the sea squall spin.
I like the flat rides.
Yeah, the flat rides have been a highlight of this. I think that it is one of these things that with this park as a whole, I've been really impressed by the way that they've made these high concept stories accessible to
Yeah.
everyone. And the flat rides are a great way to do that. And I haven't ever felt like the flat rides are like, oh, that's just there to be there, you know?
Yeah.
It's a spinny thing and another spinny thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing is that I think it's cool that
It adds that level of kinetic energy, but it still feels like it's part of the land.
right, exactly.
It
Like
doesn't
this is
feel
a
popped in there.
yeah, this is a cool upgrade on I guess traditional spinning attractions. I like that it's you have a milder version and a more intense version. I think that was a cool idea because that's something that you've never seen before, as far as I can think of,
Yeah.
in a flat ride.
So
I honestly consider Mission Space to be kind of a flat ride.
I mean, it technically
Well, I
is.
guess
Yeah,
technically,
technically it kind of is.
I mean, it's a gyroscope.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's basically just like a souped up gravitron.
but I thought that this was a really cool, like the way that this.
It's teacups, but they bounce.
This would actually be like I feel like reading through it, it seems less intense, but thinking about it, this would actually be like really intense.
This would be so fun to go on.
I would say I will go on any roller coaster on the face of this earth. I don't give a shit. Get on anything, give it to me. There are still flat rides that I am intimidated with and will not ride. No question.
Well, this flat ride just seems like this is one of those things that would bring you in
upside down enough times. No. There are definitely flat rides I will not do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing is that I think with this one especially, it doesn't feel kiddie or anything. Like this is something that would actually have, I think, long waits.
Yeah. Like it's in that same spirit as like the upgraded whip rides that Disney is obsessed with right now.
Oh God.
Yeah, that's funny. Those are already old, honestly. Well, it's kind of funny because it's like I say that just because it feels like they're popping up all over the place now.
Well,
but
so you have Maters at Disneyland. You have
Alien swirling saucers.
Ass.
You also no one ever talks about this one, but Francis's Ladybug Boogie at Bugs Land was the first of its kind for this kind of thing.
I thought that was bumper cars.
No, that was Tuck and Roll.
Oh.
Ladybug Boogie was exactly the same ride.
It was a whip ride.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, see, it's funny because like whenever I'm looking at the whip ride, I'm like, well, that's kind of whatever, that's not anything. But then like being on it's like, well, that's actually kind of moving.
It's like really fun.
Mission Space is a flat ride. Well, change my mind.
It is one of those things where it's like
you're gonna die on this hill, aren't you, Tiki?
I am. Damn right.
But no, I mean, I think the whip rides are fun. It is sort of like now that they've latched onto it, it's like, well, you can start looking at other vehicle designs like this crazy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
That makes sense.
It does. It makes a lot of sense. That's what's actually really impressive about it. Is it's like this isn't one of those things where it's like, well, I feel like this is completely crazy and would never happen. Like this is actually something that seems completely logical.
Yeah.
And yeah, space. Yeah. Aren't all rides flat since the Earth is flat? Yep.
That's technically true.
Technically.
But yeah, I really liked this. Good job, Paragon.
Yes. And I think, this is the next one. I don't know how to. Zoraya? Star Swings?
Zoya.
Ooh. Probably has a bois in there somewhere.
Oh,
oh man. Flat Earth should have been the last the most mythical place. That's so good.
Discworld. Come on, guys. I still haven't got my Discworld.
I've been meaning to. Well, I say I've been meaning to read it. It looks interesting, but it also is like really, really intimidating.
I mean,
With how many books there are.
so that's right. Zoria.
Zoria.
Zoria. Zoria. Oh. It's a chair swing. I think
mean, there's
it's a well-themed chair swing. I'm into it.
right. No, I mean, I think that it's with all these flat rides, there are these that are going to be, less, I guess, fantastic. Like not from a standpoint of the way they're designed or anything, but just by nature of the attraction. But I still think that, like I said, the way they fit all this stuff into the story makes so much more sense than most flat rides that you see that are outside of like Magic Kingdom.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of shocked that chair swings are not more prolific in Disney parks.
Yeah, I wonder if it's because it has that sort of rep of being more of a carnival attraction.
Yeah.
Which is why you see it in places like California Adventure rather than I don't know, Hollywood Studios or whatever.
I think that's the only one.
That's the only one I can think of. Well, I've only been to the domestic parks, but even thinking about the international parks, I can't think of any other chair swings.
Hong Kong doesn't have one. Tokyo doesn't have one. Shanghai doesn't have one. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that is kind of interesting that, now that you think about it, that's the only chair swing is the Silly Symphony swings. But I think that, like I said, I think that this is another. It's one of those things that's been really impressive to me about these parks that they've done is taking these concepts that are like super basic. Like it's like a chair swing is a very basic concept in terms of like designing a park.
Yeah.
And then transforming it into something that is more highly conceptual.
Yeah, something really cool and different.
Yeah, like you think about like how beautiful this central thing, because this is the central weenie of the area from what I can tell.
Yeah.
Is this massive oak tree that like changes, that part of the rings, like part of it changes colors and stuff like that, and there's all these lights on it and stuff like that. Like that just seems so cool.
Yeah.
And then you think about it whenever, like looking at it whenever the swings are going, then it becomes a halo of stars around the sacred oak. That sounds so awesome.
I will say this land would be beautiful at night.
It really would be. This is I've got to be honest. This is where I think that some of Doug's concept art would be perfect, to be honest.
Really, though.
But it is. I mean, just thinking about it,
like
it would be so epic, and it's not even like a bioluminescent thing like Pandora. It's just like, well, the way that tree is described just sounds so impressive.
Does this land would be one I would just love to sit and people watch in at night.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, I think that it is one of those things where it's like a redeeming quality of this land, even though it is like a higher concept story, this would be a place where I could picture people just going to, even if they don't know anything about the land or anything like that. It's just going to it to just sit and watch.
Yeah. Which, like, for me, probably 85% of a themed environment is making it one that you just want to sit and watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well, that's the whole difference between a theme park and amusement park, right?
Yeah.
Is that I completely agree. Is that I think that's right.
You know, for all of our critiques, for all of our critiques that this is really missing some of the magic that the other lands in this park have had. You guys, this is probably the land I do want to just sit and watch.
Yeah, I mean, like, just looking at this tree and then imagining this halo of stars, and then you have like this ring that is like a deep blue or purple in the middle. Like it just seems so truly epic. And that's something that I think that really helps this land out and the park as a whole, because I mean, all these areas seem like they have their own, exceptional qualities, but this one in particular is very, very impressive in terms of that.
Yeah, yeah, this would just be a really, really beautiful land.
Yes, 100%. Warring Winds, also by Dash. I've got to say, I really appreciate. I've noticed this with all of Dash's attractions, is that he puts a tiny thing at the top that says exactly what this is, what the attraction style is, and like in the early couple rounds of this, there were some instances where I was like, "Wait, what kind of attraction is this again?" So I do appreciate the way that he's done that throughout the competition.
Yeah.
So is there not a southern wind? Like there's three winds. I wonder if there's I'm sure there's a reason for it, but
the southern wind got canceled.
Oh. Shame.
Well, I mean, like, especially in Slavic mythology, like, if it's missing, there's a reason it's missing.
Yeah, that's right. I figured that there was some sort of reason. But this is actually kind of, yeah, that's true. That's definitely true, Ace. Southern wind is just a north wind all the way around. But this seems cool as well. Is that this trio of statues in, this triangle, and then there's like this weird tornado thing in the middle. I love the stock photo. That's the first thing I saw was just that right there. I was like, oh yeah, there you go. So it's a Dumbo style spinner, and it's like a tornado themed. I like that idea. I think that it's. I wonder. I wish I understood more about like how the tornado actually like looked.
Yeah. How is it stylized? Like,
yeah,
I see it. I picture this as being like super stylized.
Right. Like I feel like this could look really awesome. And I think this is cool too. Like the way that it's actually described is like the three winds are bickering with each other, and you hear these little tips to move your thing up or down. And if you don't, then you're gonna get a blast of air. I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah, that is a really cool idea. Like it reminds me of One Fish, Two Fish at Islands of Adventure, where you do have those moments of follow the directions or you get blasted with water.
Right. Yeah, I think that's I think this is cool. And the blast of wind is a little bit less agitating to some people, I guess, than a blast of water. But yeah, so again, like you said at the beginning of this, Mickey fan, is that all of these flat rides have their own really solid elements to them.
I appreciate all the flat rides far more than I do the e-ticket.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything against the e-ticket. It's just the fact that these flat rides are like really solid.
Yeah. And we got an aquarium.
Oh, that's interesting, Peregrine. So, according to Slavic mythology, the southern wind doesn't live on the island with the other winds. That is really bizarre, but very, very impressive.
I'm out.
Exactly, I'm out. But that's very impressive attention to detail, to be honest, because that's the sort of thing that you hear about, like stories about Imagineering and stuff, and you're like, well, who on earth is ever going to notice that? And then you have Peregrine, who's an expert in Slavic mythology, and that's like, the southern wind does not belong here. No, that's actually really impressive that you. I'm guessing that you're not an expert on Slavic mythology and you just did that amount of research, which is kind of impressive because I looked up BUYAN whenever I saw you guys were doing it, and I was like really confused about what it was, and it feels more accessible in park format.
Well, and like, I think that that's something that they've really done a good job this entire time of, all of these lanes feel really accessible.
Absolutely, that's one of the things that I've been most impressed with is just the way that they've done it, with not feeling like there's going to be a group of people that just feel so left out because they don't immediately latch onto these mythological ideas.
Joe Normal and Karen and Titlato could. There's a deep cut for y'all. Joe Normal and Karen and Titlato could could go in and know what these environments are.
Yeah. And, now we're seeing here again, and this is I guess this is part of the ocean thing that they were going for, is this aquarium. Once again, I will never be able to understand how Peregrine is able to do this and also make it like all of them feel like unique, Yeah. So, it's a solid aquarium. I mean, it's an aquarium, but it's a highly themed aquarium, which is pretty cool in my opinion.
Question the inclusion of salmon simply because salmon stink.
That's fair. Yeah.
I mean, I will say I think the nature trails that Peregrine has done over the course of the season, I think they've been one of the biggest game changers of the season. I think going forward with Armchair Imagineering, it's kind of a new feather in our cap, just like just like all the different presentation styles from So You Want to Be an Imagineer were.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think and it's actually kind of funny because I think that Peregrine is the only one that has actually done any of these that I can remember. So it is sort of like he's changed the game a little bit by himself, which is really impressive.
It is.
Sure.
Honestly, we should have like a zoo competition or something like that, and just like Peregrine, you can't play. We got to get everybody else up to speed.
Peregrine would have to host.
Yeah, exactly. Peregrine, that would be an awesome idea, honestly. Actually, it'd just be fun to watch. I have no ideas about smaller aquariums.
Oh, I could try to do it. I'm sure I won't have the level of knowledge that Peregrine does, but I mean, in terms of the landscaping and fitting stuff together, I could probably do a good job with it.
Yeah, well, it's so cool that what Peregrine does with this stuff is it's like he does all that landscaping stuff, but it is the attention to remembering that the animals are the stars of it, and the way that he's done that. And like I said, it's just very, very impressive. But yeah, so that's the aquarium and a sea eagle, which I did not know was like a thing.
Yeah, eagles that live on the sea.
Right. Like that makes sense, like logically, but
also,
it looks cool.
Yeah. Well, until you look at it from like head on.
And then if it's like coming at you like it's 70 miles an hour.
Game over, man. An eagle from like beak first.
I try to avoid that because they are kind of intimidating, to be honest.
Well, eagles look so stupid head on.
This is a cool picture.
It is.
So yeah, good job on the aquarium. Is that and then a forest trip?
I think you guys should have leaned more heavily into the forest for the entire atmosphere of the land, honestly.
Like, we much as we criticized Seasons of Fantasy for being too big, one of the things that was really the standout for it was that forest atmosphere that you gave it.
Right. Well, I think if it had been almost entirely leaned into the forest aspect of it, that would have been interesting. I mean, I don't think that, I still think the concept they went with is pretty good. It's just I do get what you're saying that that it would have been cool to see it more foresty.
Yeah.
I just want to point out, I think that Peregrine has a thing against bald eagles.
He likes seagulls.
Peregrine, do you think that Ben Franklin was right and the national animal of the United States should have been a turkey?
Yeah, that would have intimidated everybody else.
Wait, go back.
This one.
Okay, I just want to make sure I saw that right. We got kitties.
Yes. There's just, like I said, it's attention to detail and a lot of detail.
And you know how to appeal to me.
With kitties.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my god. Peregrine did a whole podcast about turkeys would be the better national bird.
No way.
Oh,
No way. What? Okay, I need that to be sent somewhere because I need to listen to that. That is
I'm so
amazing.
curious.
But yeah,
Ducks
animals.
and owls.
Vulture. A non-breeding pair of vultures.
Lame.
You got to have them breeding. Guests want to see some bird action.
Oh God.
How
God.
is that fantasy creature?
This is so cool. This legitimately looks so cool.
That really does. I kind of wish that y'all included more of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's interesting. It feels like with all this stuff, it's sort of been there's a high emphasis on, realism and stuff and smaller elements of the fantastical stuff.
I kind of wish that y'all included more stuff like the Indrek.
Yeah. For Beowulf, to be technical, wouldn't it make more sense to say feathery? Just curious. But yes, that was very cool. And we are done with attractions.
Okay. All right, Goofy. So basically what's going to happen now was your idea.
So we're going to pin it on me.
I'm going to let you take the lead and tell them what's what.
Okay. So I love how they spent. I just want to point out, they at the beginning of this podcast, there was a whole thing about not paying attention to the dining, and I'm like, we finished the attractions, and Tiki's like, all right, we're done. But yes, so basically, the idea was that we were going to pick the MVPs.
Before we move on to that, keep going. I need to check the desserts.
Oh yeah, for sure. Bird's milk cake.
Is the Rojak?
Check.
Where's the Rojak? Come on. My family is Slavic, so there's a pastry called a Rojak. It's basically a sweet bread wrapped with jam or a nut, or a nut spread, basically. It is delicious, and the fact that you do not have it on here is insulting to me.
Yes. Yeah, no, I thought that was a good menu balance overall, though.
Yeah.
And I think that I do appreciate the... I'm just talking about dining because Ace said we better talk about dining. The Seafarer's Grill, I thought, was a good idea. Just because it does feel like this land sort of misses. It's actually kind of funny because you think about it. What was it? Center Core Expo was supposed to have an emphasis on the ocean stuff, and then they completely forgot about it. And the same thing with this one.
Is the ocean cursed with this resort?
Potentially. They want to. It's a good thing that they weren't designers of Disney Sea. Otherwise, there may have been some issues.
We got a whole park themed to the ocean, but it's not in there anywhere.
Exactly. But yeah, so that was cool. I like the dining, simple options and everything, and retail written by Dash Haber. There's a forge.
Yeah, I mean, Dash, no offense, but this, like, there's a difference between, like, Ace, you know, it might not be the most well thought out dining ever, but it's still an attempt. And Dash, it's no offense, but it's just kind of there.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where it's like if you want retail to stand out, it's got to be like you really, really go for it. Otherwise, it is just going to be kind of there because, like I said at the beginning, is that it is sort of tough to make retail shine. To be honest,
no, absolutely it is, and it's tougher than dining for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, 3 different stores with different designs and stuff. So I mean, it wasn't nothing bad about it or anything. Just what the heck?
Barely any detail. That
was weird.
was my problem.
404ing.
I don't know. That's weird. Okay. Anyways, so we're back to the beginning. Okay. So this is my idea. Space agreed with it. Everybody actually agreed with it, but it was my idea.
I'm the most on the fence about it out of anyone. I'll say that much.
Yeah, Tiki was the least, I guess, willing. I think you still agree with it though, right? Like it's just sort of a.
Generally speaking, yes. I'm not sure how the final 3 is going to feel about it.
Okay. I'll explain what our decision was, and then I'll explain why we made the decision. So the initial idea was that we were going to pick MVPs from both lands that you guys made at the end, and then Paragon. I will check and look at the lake at the beginning. But the idea was we pick MVPs from both lands, and those 2 MVPs compete in the boutique park thing on the podcast tomorrow to determine who gets to pick who comes with them in the final 2. However, we ran into a dilemma whenever we all sort of picked the same MVP for both lands, which we weren't expecting to happen because it was sort of believed that we were going to not consider the person we picked for the first one. But Paragon, honestly, he sort of dominated the past week of these projects. So what we decided to do is Paragon has made it to the final 2. Congratulations. And
Yay!
Tomorrow, Ace and Dash are going to be competing for the other spot in the final 2. So basically it's going to be judged the same way as it was before. The judges that are available are all going to be on to judge. The main reason being, and we all talked about this as judges, is that it felt honestly it was harder to justify Paragon not getting MVP for either of these 2 lands than it was to justify him getting it for both. Which is, we were talking about it before we came on the podcast. It sort of felt like, no offense to Ace and Dash, because I don't know if this is the way you thought, but what I said to Mickey Fan and Tiki was that it sort of felt like both of you realized that Paragon was going to win MVP on the last land. And so it was one of those things where it was like you both were just barely trying to outdo the other. I don't know if that's what it was. Obviously, I have no idea if that's what you guys were trying to do. However, I guess we didn't ever, I don't know if we ever explicitly said that it was going to be 2 separate MVPs, or we were just going to pick MVPs from both lands. But Paragon was, I think everybody, if these were two isolated projects, I think the judges would have all agreed that Paragon was the MVP of both of them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So it is one of those things where it's whenever you put it together, it would have been really, I mean, in my opinion, and the other thing that I considered was it would have been very, very unfair, in my opinion, if Paragon were to, technically be MVP of both lands, but we still make him do the boutique park challenge and he does it and gets eliminated whenever he 100% deserves to be in the final two based on his performance in the past 2 rounds.
Yeah.
But yeah, I completely understand. Like I said, the burnout 100%, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, definitely
we
something.
felt burnout.
Right. So yeah, that's where we're at.
And I'm honestly scared to look at the comments.
I mean, it's all good.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, I'm sure that, like I said, I mean, honestly, we said at the last podcast that, or I guess it was 2 podcasts, it was whenever the final 3 were decided, we said that it was Space felt the burnout and left. So did I. But it did feel like we said at the time the final 3 definitely deserved to be the final 3. You guys have done very well in the competition, and it's one of those things where it's very tough to judge, but I feel like this is definitely the fairest thing whenever it did really feel like it was Paragon absolutely dominating. And I guess the alternative that we could have done in regards to what Ace is saying is it may have been best to tell Paragon that he won and tell him to not try on this last project. Because it is one of those things where it's like whenever you compare Paragon's work to Ace and Dash, it did really feel like Paragon was a head and shoulders over these past 2 projects.
Although I will say I do think that, if we did have to choose no, this isn't any shade on anyone, but if we did have to choose a player who was not Paragon for this, for me, my vote would have gone to Dash. Those flat rides were just outstanding.
I would have agreed with that. So it's like we said, it's one of those things that, like I keep saying that's one of those things. I'm sorry, but Space says if Paragon had been announced MVP after round 1, it would have been easier to pick versus Dash versus Ace.
Yeah.
But we said that at the beginning that of the week that we weren't going to announce who won.
Yeah.
Purely because we wanted to incentivize everybody to work hard for both lands.
Right.
That backfired on us.
I also think having them do the final 2 lands within a week of each other was maybe not the best idea. Maybe we should have extended it to a week and a half.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, it is. We're just sort of a lot of these decisions were sort of made on the fly. So,
and that's on us.
There was swearing in the judges' lounge on my end.
We were all very conflicted about what to do once we realized that Paragon was probably the best contributor in both lands.
Yeah.
Just because it's very, very tough. And again, this isn't anything against. I realize that this probably comes across bad, but this is not anything against anything that Ace and Dash have done. It's purely the fact that Paragon has just been very excellent in these lands. It's you guys have both definitely contributed well.
I mean, honestly, I think if there's one person who you could call the Joe Rody of this park, it would be Paragon.
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely, no question.
I would agree, and he has the. It's actually interesting. I feel like he's been more of an overcat than Outbound was, and So You Want to Be an Imagineer.
Oh, definitely.
But that didn't work out for Outbound, and So You Want to Be an Imagineer. So it is definitely up to the jury at the end of the day. But like I said, it felt it felt like it would be very, very harsh on Peregrine for being the best contributor in both parks to just him getting eliminated because of the. So that's
In so many words.
I basically just said a bunch of times.
All right, so the finale podcast where Ace and Dash will go head to head, pitching in a third gate boutique park, and then after that they will join Peregrine in the final two. We will have a jury speak segment. They'll get to lay out like an initial pitch to the jury. They'll get to answer jury questions. They'll get to have final thoughts. The jury will vote. It's all happening tomorrow, guys. Unless there's
to show up for the jury for the podcast, put your questions in on your diary rooms.
Yeah, please do.
And I have to say, I am very excited about a rematch between Ace and Dash, rather than not rather than anything. I'm just excited to see a rematch after what happened last week.
Oh, and just to emphasize this, by all means, do concept art if you want to, and you can use screen share if you want to for reference images. But I will reference back to the fact that Ace used reference images in the last week's pitch, and I don't want to say he was fumbling all over himself, but I feel like it took away from his pitch the fact that he was...
To be fair, Ace had, half an hour to prepare?
Yeah, but I'm saying Dash came out and he killed it, and all he used was his words.
That is true.
So it's going to be interesting to see how you guys approach it.
Use them if you think you can use them well, and use them if you don't think it's going to get in the way of your presentation, but just know that Dash won last week just based on the strength of his words alone. So
And regarding what Ace is saying, I realize that the plan is definitely different because obviously based on last week's podcast, the plan was one of you and Dash win and take the other one. But like I said, it felt extremely harsh to Peregrine.
Yeah.
Considering his contributions.
Yeah, it basically did not feel fair to Peregrine.
And it wasn't one of those things for me where I was like, oh, I'm trying to protect Peregrine making it. I wasn't. None of us, I don't think, were trying to influence anything like that. It is purely. If it had been anybody, you and Ace and Dash both said on the podcast last week that their goal was to get Peregrine eliminated. And if Ace had come out and absolutely dominated both of these lands, it would have been, well, Peregrine and Dash are competing for the final two.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So leave all your complaints with Goofy.
This feels familiar. This is becoming a theme.
All right, who wants to wrap this thing up? We've been going too long as it is.
Oh, let's take a look at what Peregrine added to the link.
Yes, thank you. I was going to completely forget about that. We'll go out on that. So main page, or the main page of this, or the main page, probably the main page of 1986. Not that. I'm sorry. Hang on. It's going to be the main page of, where is it? There it is. Lost Kingdoms. I am all over the place. Okay. So.
Oh, look at that. They added a thing.
It's a thing. Is there like a description of it or something? Maybe there is. Also, Peregrine's maps were we didn't even talk about it. So I really like this map, but it does feel like This map is a big upgrade just on, and you can tell by the way that he's worked on it. So that's impressive.
Yeah.
Wait, hang on. So the lake stuff is
Well-
very minimal last second, but it should more about the park. Maybe it's here.
Lagoon exploration cruise.
He's like, it's this little thing, and then he throws in Chinese junk, pirate frigate, Arctic icebreaker, Viking longship, Phoenician Punic ship, Polynesian voyaging canoe, and Egyptian galleon.
Oh god.
Just throwing that in, like, for no reason. Like, that's impressive. Is there any
Roadie.
rafts to the mysterious island? Is this part of that too?
Oh, cool.
Oh, it's the mysterious island, the thing in the middle?
It's a in-park transport and then a weenie.
The sundial. A sun-shaped time teller on an island within the central lagoon. He writes this little backstory thing. That's impressive. And I know that he said that he didn't do this just to help out, because I had no idea that he did this.
No.
But yeah. Huh. Interesting. Well, yeah, there you go. That's pretty cool.
I like it.
And I guess that's everything. So you guys are, well, almost officially done. We're going to be adding a boutique park tomorrow.
Very exciting.
All in all, this has been a very, very, very impressive season.
Absolutely.
When Tiki and I were first pitching this, I know that I was not expecting it to end up like this. I don't know about you, Tiki, but I was definitely not expecting
I
this.
was thinking, like, if we're lucky, we might get, like, one solid blindside out of it. If we're lucky.
Yeah, but it's been cool to see how you guys, like, develop everything and, like, develop your skills, too, to be honest. Like, we said a couple of weeks ago that we wouldn't have expected the final 5 or the final 4 or the final 3 to be who they were, purely based on, I mean, you look at, I mean, who got left out of the, I mean, come on, how did everybody thought he was going to win? But no, I mean, you think about, you had a ton of big names that didn't make it. And yeah. It's
Dash,
been a solid season.
Pie, Goofy, Space, Outbound.
Yeah, like I said, it was a star-studded season, it felt like. And for the final 3 to make it this far, very, very impressive. Ace Goofy was my first blast. Yes. Ace kept on messaging me saying how burned out I was getting. It was really weird. But yeah, so
it could have been.
Yes,
he really could have been the. He really could have been the Veto King.
I thought about it. I really did. I probably would have had to, like, take Paragon's stuff and pass it off as my own, though. But yeah, so it's been a very solid season, very, very exciting season. I'm very psyched to look. I'm really looking forward to it, because if you think about it, I feel like, yes, that's exactly what he said. Goofy, your schedule seems pretty busy right now. But I'm really looking forward to it, because it's sort of like in Survivor, the fire building challenges, that sort of thing.
Oh, it absolutely is the fire building challenge for sure.
Where you have a chance, Dash and Ace both have a massive chance to say, I really truly played for my spot in it.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the juries have done some strange things, like Outbound not winning in Silver Imagineer. So I could have said, like, Goofy not winning, but I said, like, Outbound not winning.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. At the end, I was really rooting for you to win.
Thank you. I was rooting for me to win, too. But yeah, so looking forward to it.
All right, guys. Well, I don't think we have. I'm gonna go ahead and say 10 p.m. tomorrow is gonna be the start time for the finale, assuming that nothing goes wrong scheduling wise.
Yeah.
So
Sounds good to me.
All right, sounds good. Well, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Let's see, Beowulf, Peregrine.
Oh, a dagger to my heart. Fair enough. Fair enough.
So
Just know,
Beowulf,
I really
Peregrine,
don't like
Ace,
Canadian.
Space, Dash. Y'all are awesome. Thanks for watching. Have a good night, everyone, and stay tuned tomorrow night. May the best man win.
Bye.
Send all your complaints to Goofy Yuck Yuck, not me. It was his idea.